Hello everyone. In this lecture, we'll be discussing the syllabus of agriculture in detail. So let us begin. At first, we have major cropping pattern in various parts of the country. So in this, we should know the reasons and factors influencing cropping pattern. One of the reasons or factor is government subsidy. Then we have agro-climatic conditions. So these factors or reasons influence the cropping pattern. Then we have emerging trends in cropping pattern. What are the emerging trends? Like say in Punjab, we are growing rice. In Maharashtra, we are growing sugarcane. So these are some of the emerging trends. And what will be the long run effects of this current trends in cropping pattern? If this is continue, what will happen? It will lead to desertification. The soil moisture will go out. So these are some of the effects. Then we have different types of irrigation and irrigation systems and storage. In this, we have modes and sources of irrigation. What are the modes? We have rivers, we have lakes, we have canals. These are some of the modes and sources. Then what are the problems associated with irrigation? One of the problem is that we have lack of infrastructure, that we do not have adequate number of canals, etc. Then what are the emerging technologies for irrigation? Some of them are drip irrigation, sprinkler irrigation. Another is biotechnology is also being used for irrigation. Then we have environmental effects of irrigation. What are the environmental effects of irrigation? Like it leads to soil salinity. Okay, then it leads to desertification also if we are doing over irrigation. Then we have need for systematic irrigation reforms and water policy. That why do we need irrigation reforms and a new water policy? For this, you should look at the recommendations of Mihir Shah Commission and what the Composite Water Management Index of Niti Aayog say for this section. Then we have transport and marketing of agriculture produce and issues related and constraints. In this, we have agriculture marketing. The current mechanisms, we have mandis, yards, and FPOs. These are mostly regulated markets. These markets are more or less very much regulated, and a special focus should be on APMC as this is the most regulated market. Then we have reforms required. What are the reforms required or we have done till now? NAM, ENAM, direct selling, that the farmer must be able to directly sell to the buyer. He should not sell to mandi, he should directly sell to buyer. Then we have shortcomings of current agriculture marketing process. What are the shortcomings of APMC Act, Essential Commodities Act, and issues with interstate trade of agriculture good, that the agriculture good cannot be traded between two states in many cases. Then we have what are the changes we need and what are the changes which new farm bills have proposed with respect to these issues. Then we have transporting of agriculture goods. What are the issues? One of the issues is that we do not have refrigerated trucks. Then we do not have warehouses. Then we do not have adequate roads in rural areas. Then what are the reforms that we can take to make it better? Then we have FCI. What is its role and what are the issues? Issues in FCI is that there's lack of digitization. Okay. Then there's a lack of capacity also. It does not have enough warehouse. There's also lack of properly trained workforce. The workforce of FCI is not properly trained at some cases. Then we have Shanta Kumar committee recommendations, what it has recommended vis-a-vis FCI, the storage, warehousing, etc. Then we have warehousing and cold storage. Why do we need them? And what are the constraints we face in creating them? One of the constraints is that it has high capital cost. This is one of the constraints. Then we have cooperative marketing. And at last, we have contract farming. What are the benefits and issues with respect to contract farming? For this, you can look at Niti Aayog recommendations. Then we have e-technology in the aid of farmers and various technology missions. At first, we have use of technology such as internet, drones, smartphones, etc. to aid farmers, how this can help farmers, and various technology missions such as cotton, jute, pulses, etc. Like for cotton, we had the silver fiber revolution. For jute, we had the golden fiber revolution. And for milk, we had white revolution. These are some of the technology missions. Then we have issues related to direct and indirect farm subsidies and minimum support price. At first, we have agriculture pricing policy. Why do we need MSP at the first place? That should be known to us. Then what is the rationale for subsidy? Why do we provide subsidies at the first place, and what are the types of subsidy do we provide, direct versus indirect? What are the various kinds of subsidy? Then we should know what is the effectiveness of the subsidy that we are providing, and to what extent are they effective. Like, say, there was a OECD report recently which said that the subsidies provided by Indian government had a negative effect on the agriculture sector. Rather than having positive effect, it had a negative effect on agriculture sector. So this was said by OECD. Then we have clash with WTO agreements, that the subsidies we are providing is clashing with our WTO agreements. Then what were the recommendations made by Swaminathan committee in this sector? Then we have public distribution system, objective, functioning, limitations, and revamping. What is the objective and significance of PDS system? One of the most important objective is to provide free food to poor people. Another is to ensure that the food prices do not fluctuate too much during a year, so it keeps inflation in check. This is another objective of PDS system. Then we have functioning. How does it function? Fair price shop, FCI, ration cards, Aadhaar linking, etc. Then what are the shortcomings or problems associated with PDS? One of the shortcomings is that there's no digitization still. Okay, then there's inclusion and exclusion error. The food is substandard. These are some of the shortcomings. Then the need to improve. Okay, how we can improve the PDS system? Like, we can do digitization, then we can do one nation one ration card scheme can be implemented. Then the measures to improve, that I have already told, and the lacunas associated with PDS, or what are the issues. Here I have told the issues already. Then what are the steps taken by government in this regard? Some of the steps taken is that it is moving towards digitization. Okay, it has given the fair price shops to SHGs. Rather than giving it to a person, it has given fair price shops to SHGs, so to reduce corruption. Then we have issues of buffer stock and food security. Buffer stock, what is the objective of buffer stock and what are its norms? One of the objective of buffer stock again is to keep enough food, so that if a contingency arrives in future, we have enough food for our needs. And what are the norms? Like, for some food we have 3-month norm, for another kind of food we have 6-month norm. So what are the norms for various kinds of food, for rice, wheat, pulses, etc.? Then what is the impact of government procurement and distribution on government budget? How does government procurement and distribution affects the budget of government, and how does it affects the open market? Then we have national food need for food security. Why do we need food security? Because many people are still poor in our country. This is the single most need for providing food security to everyone. Then also to develop the human resource of our country. This is another need. Then we have National Food Security Mission and other food security related government initiatives. What are the various initiatives? Like, we have food fortification scheme. These are some of the initiatives. Then economics of animal rearing, it includes fisheries also. In this, you should know importance of livestock and fisheries sector in Indian economy, because of late the fisheries and livestock sector have emerged as a sunrise sector. Especially this year, the fisheries were the biggest agriculture export of India. Then we have importance of livestock and fisheries sector in achieving inclusive growth. One of the importance is that even marginal farmers can take up fisheries and livestock, so this ensures inclusive growth. Then we have schemes slash policies launched for livestock and fisheries sector by the government. What are the various schemes? For fisheries, we have mission, fingerling. So these are some of the schemes. Then we should know what ways and means we can adopt to improve both livestock and the fisheries sector. How we can improve? By genetic engineering, scientific fodder, and disease prevention, and various other measures. And at last, we have food processing and related industries in India. What is the scope and potential in India? That it is a sunrise sector. What is the significance? One of the significance is that it provides job to rural people. It reduces the wastage, reduces agricultural wastage. These are some of the significance. Then what are the constraints and challenges? One of the constraints is that we lack skilled manpower. Okay, we lack technology. Old technology is in use, so we need to infuse new technology in this sector. Then another challenge is the requirement of capital. High capital is needed at times. Then we have upstream and downstream requirement. What are the upstreams and downstream requirement of this industry, and how supply chain is managed in this industry. One of the important thing here is that we need cold storage. So to manage the supply chain in this industry properly. Then we have government policies and initiatives such as Sampada 12th 5-year plan. What are the various government policies and initiatives so to encourage food processing sector? So this more or less concludes our agriculture syllabus discussion. Thank you.